Welcome to the Right Now podcast. We've got Auburn Shepard this week. Auburn, glad to have you.
Trace, I don't know if I'm glad to be here yet, but thank you for having me.
I lied when I said glad to have you.
Okay.
So, I'm glad we're on the same page.
Good.
He doesn't look happy anyways.
Yeah. So, we have a good time. We've been working for Auburn, not for Auburn, with Auburn for almost a month now, I guess. And it's been just about as bad as you could think it'd be.
No doubt the best month of your lives.
No, it's been interesting. I mean, but we wanted to know, like, me and Caleb know how we feel about the work experience so far. We want to know Auburn's thoughts. How do you like having the interns around?
Truthfully, it's been a little difficult for me, I would say. Just sort of, more meetings than I'm used to. Kind of takes away. Usually we have a longer meeting on Mondays. As you know, it's usually like an hour to 2 hours, which is like really long for a meeting. And usually during those times is like when I prepare a message for the week. So I'm really like kind of missing out on that time and not really finding it throughout the workday. So I'd say that's the hardest part about having interns is like just the meetings of like time that you're not getting back.
Is there any good times? Like, do you like us?
Yeah, I enjoy y'all. I enjoy playing around, being with y'all, getting to see y'all. It's really weird because, like, for me, I mean, like Caleb, I'd say I've known a long time, and Samantha Tedder kind of saw her kind of grow up more, and EG kind of was with her last summer. Didn't really know you much, but really like getting to see like your personalities and how they kind of like gel together, or how you kind of like may go with one other person and kind of gravitate away from another person, like the way you interact and the way you're like actually serving and the reasons behind why you're serving, that sort of thing, I'd say is really enjoyable.
That's good. Some positive words.
Yeah, positive.
Yeah. So I'm glad we don't have just straight discouragement for me and Caleb because we get hurt,
Yeah, I understand. Everybody's got feelings. It's all right, man.
We got feelings.
You can always do better, but you can always do worse. So
it's been good. We have a good time. We know how to. We work hard and we play hard.
Hey, that's the way to be.
That's what we do.
I mean, if work isn't fun, is it really a good time to go to work?
No. If you can't have fun at work, don't show up.
Amen.
Wow.
Amen.
Heard it here from Trey Bebe.
That's not my nickname, but
Okay.
We'll go with it, I guess.
Okay.
So yeah, Auburn, we've been asking a lot of the staff members this same question, and we want to hear it from you. You're kind of fresh in the ministry game. This year you've been at Ridgecrest 2 years. Almost.
August will be 1 year full time staff, and then 1 year of basically interning.
Okay, awesome. So we want to know, when did you realize this was your calling, and like what did that look like for you to get to this point?
Okay, so this is tough. So I'd say y'all all know about Wired, participants of Wired. One Friday night, I think I was probably in the 11th grade. We left Wired, me, a good friend at the time, Chet Sowell, grew up here. We were leaving, and he was dropping me off at my house, and I was in the car, and I was just like, I felt weird, and I was just like, look, like, I haven't told anybody this. I don't even know what this means, but I really feel called to ministry, but I don't really know what that means, right? And I was like, if you would pray for me. Well, that was the extent of that conversation. Like, it was over with. I didn't speak about it to anybody else. I didn't say anything to anybody else. I didn't even like say anything to him about it. And so fast forward, graduate, go to junior college, went to Troy, got to Troy for my last 2 years, and had a roommate from Dothan who was going into the ministry. He was getting a business degree, and then he felt called to be in the ministry. And really that relationship is what really like helped speak to me. We talked a lot about the Bible, talked a lot about like what was going on, why certain things occur, that sort of thing. Really just like heart to hearts is what we called it. And it always occurred like after we had done something, and it was like 11 o'clock at night, and we were like, all right, we're going to go to bed, but we kind of want to just hang out. So it'd always be in the living room, heart to hearts. Usually end up I'm not even gonna lie to y'all, with me in tears about something, like
Yeah.
you know how guys are. Like we don't want to share our feelings or
No,
anything. So
never.
then when you
Yep.
actually share them, it's like, whew, I can't believe I did that. It's that release.
Yeah.
And so also at Troy, got into a ministry with some other guys and really got plugged into serve there. Came back home, graduated, started selling insurance. And when I took the job in insurance, I probably took it in March. And really in February, I really started praying, like, God, what do you want me to do? And I was reading scripture, and God took me to this passage in Luke. And I don't even remember what the passage was about. But throughout that time of him taking me to the book of Luke, the guy who offered me a job in insurance name was Luke. And I was like, God, give me a sign if this is what you want me to take. Because I had like a week to think about it. And I was like, if this is meant to be, like basically bring it to the table. And sure enough, like randomly the book of Luke was led to the book of Luke. And I didn't really understand why. Okay, so I take this job, loved the people there, hated the job, right? I was calling 60, 70, 80 people a day. Like half of them were like, hey, I don't even know who you are, quit calling me. The other half, like, don't even answer. I would only talk to like maybe 10 people a day before you go straight to voicemail. And I was just miserable. I kept praying, God, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? And I felt like he was calling me to the ministry. But I was kind of carrying that burden on my own. I wasn't really wasn't really talking to anybody about it. Kind of mentioned it to Broxton, and then I called up Chase. I was like, by this time, me and Chase had gotten to be good friends, and we talked through me just like serving at different events and stuff. I've known Chase and Dougie and them a long time, but came to sell him insurance one day. He was right up there in David Brunson's office, and I walk in, and I give my little pitch, whatever, get his information, go get ready to take it back to work, and he looks at me, and you know when Chase has that look like he wants to talk about something, you're gonna talk about it.
Yep.
So he sit there, and I'm sitting right across from him, and he just looks at me, and I'll never forget. He's like, "What are you doing, bro?" Like that was the exact words. Like, "What are you doing, bro?" And it wasn't like, hey, what are you doing in insurance? Hey, what are you doing like this way? It was just generic. And so for me, it was something that was like, yikes. And I remember I told him, I was like, I'm selling this insurance, but like I hate it. Like I think I'm called to the ministry, but I don't know what that means or what that looks like. And I remember tearing up. Honestly, I'm an emotional guy. I know nobody would think that most of the time, but I am. And just really was like, he hit me in my gut. And later on, I find out from some people that were interning that summer, they were like, yeah, he told us he was about to have a life conversation with you. So, like, they knew what was coming, but I didn't. And through that, I really came home. One Thursday morning, I got up to go to work, and my mom was on the couch reading her devotion. And I walked by, and she said, have a good day at work. And I just had that feeling of like, I got to get this off my chest. And I was like, okay, like probably not, basically. Walk out the door, get to work. And I don't know what came over me, but I was like, I've got to go talk to my boss. Also a Christian, strong believer, which takes me back to, ended up like the passage that God led me to in the book of Luke, ended up, leading me to a guy who was a believer, sat down, told him like, look, cried in his office. I was like,
Golly.
I know, dude, like
crying
tears
everywhere.
Make
tears
his rounds.
everywhere.
Golly.
And so I tell him, I'm like, look, I feel called to the ministry. I don't know what that means. Like, get choked up telling him, basically. He looks at me. He says, well, that's great. Take a few days. Take today and tomorrow, and let me know if you're going to come back to work, basically, and what's next. So I called my mom, told her, go by my Nana's house and walk in there. And my Nana's like, oh, I thought something was horribly wrong because I never, like, it was work time. Cried there, Then I get home, and Dad finally gets home for the day, and he's like, what are you doing here? And I tell him, and he's like, we talk a minute, and he's like, well, I'm going to text Brother Ray and see if he'll meet with us. and it was, of course, it's during his sabbatical time. So we actually meet him that next day, have lunch, and I remember Brother Ray looks at me and he's like, "How do you know?" And I just tell him, I'm like, "You know what? I can't tell you how I know. I just know." And he was like, "Well, basically, like, I understand that. That's a lot of people. You just know. You don't really know how to explain it." And I remember him telling me, like, this means that you have to be willing to go, whether it be right down the road or a different state, country. You have to be willing to go when God calls, to be faithful to what He's calling you to do. And I'll never forget that. And then worked probably another couple weeks, went in there and had talked to Chase off and on. And he was like, "Look, bro, like, I can't pay you nothing, but if you want to come work every day, like, I could find stuff for you to do, for you to really be plugged in and serve." And the rest was history. And then last summer came, and Andrew was getting ready to, Andrew and Lauren were getting ready to venture on to their worship ministry, really, and building a bus. And Chase sat in Chase's office one day, and I was kind of at the point where I'm like, okay, I kind of got to decide what's next, because I had stuff I had to pay for and wasn't really making anything, and got to the point where I was thinking, okay, God, like, what's next? Provide me with something that's next. And Chase he was like, "Hey, come in early one day," and we came in. He told me, and it was just like an answer to prayers, honestly. And the rest has been history. I mean, obviously, with any job, there's good days and bad days, but for me, work doesn't feel like work. And I know, especially as we get into the summer, y'all may feel that a little bit more. But really, just the excitement, and really the excitement on other people's faces, whether it's preteens, whether it's students, whether it's kids that you just see. Like, I'll see children's ministry kids running around, and they'll all come up and be like, "Hey, hey, hey," and it's just like that excitement trumps everything else that goes on. So I would say that's really how I got into ministry, called to ministry, and who knows what's next.
Yeah. We're excited to see what is the next step for you. Obviously, we're excited you're here, but, Lord knows what's in the future, for all of us, So that's why we're all here this summer, is to serve and to be here. So, yeah, thank you for being open and sharing.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to see the Lord work like that, And so, kind of to wrap it up, we want to look at what Scripture right now is just like really changing your life,
So I'd say I'll read it. It's Psalm 100. And it's kind of weird. I kind of got into a place where I was teaching Psalms. I took a month to teach some Psalms to the preteens right before Christmas, and came across this Psalm of Psalm 100. And this is what it says. It says, "Let the whole earth shout triumphantly to the Lord. Serve the Lord with gladness. Come before him with joyful songs. Acknowledge that the Lord is God. He made us, and we are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him and bless his name. For the Lord is good, and his faithful love endures forever, his faithfulness through all generations." And really, I've tried to make that something that I think about this whole year. You can think about the start of the passage where it talks about serving, and my capacity of serving is different than your capacity of serving and other people's capacity. For me, I'm privileged to do it full time. For y'all, you're doing it this summer, while you go to school. Others, it may be in a nursing field or accounting field, whatever field you're in, to really think about, okay, how can I serve God? So that's the first thing for me, is like, okay, whatever I'm doing today, no matter how much fun or joking around we have, like, at the end of the day, it is to serve God, right? And then thinking about from there, okay, not just serving God, but who is God? Like, why do I serve God, right? The acknowledgement factor of who is he? Why do I serve him, right? And then kind of wrap up, like, especially on the bad days, you think about, okay, like, God's faithful. Even if today wasn't such a good day, or there's things that you didn't get to, like, we're lucky because we know that His mercies are new every day. His faithfulness will continue to last. And really, ultimately, he may not provide in the ways that we want, but it's in the ways that we need. So I would say Psalm 100 has really been honestly, just like a life passage verse. I know it's more than one verse, passage, more like a life passage over this last year.
Yeah. So, yeah, appreciate it. That's a good word. Hope it's encouraging. I know it's encouraging to me. We hope it's encouraging to y'all as you listen to this, and for anyone that might experience drawing or call to the ministry. You got guys like, I know I felt that call. Auburn's felt that call. Obviously, everyone on staff here has felt that call, and so hopefully we'll see more people experience that through our youth group and our ministry. And so we appreciate y'all listening. In Auburn, appreciate you just opening up and telling us your story.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been the Right Now podcast, and we'll see you next week.